What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Tide Pot News here, and welcome back to What Remains of Edith Finch. Now, when we left off, we just seen where Milton went with his magic paintbrush, and found out that not only is Edith just 17 years old and the only remaining member of her family, but she's also 22 weeks pregnant. Which gives me a lot of respect for all of this clambering she's doing. Not that I didn't have respect for it before, I wouldn't want to be doing it. But... oh.
Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors.
Mama doesn't like to remember.
Whatever Milton had found in the house, Mom didn't want it getting out.
How tall is this house?
Mom definitely blamed Edie, but I think Louis blamed himself. After he graduated, he just spent more and more time in his room. Until Mom got him a job at the cannery. Everyone always told me to stay out of Louis's room. Except Louis.
This house is fantastic.
Louis's room smelled very, very familiar. That part of him lived on.
Hey, turn back around. I didn't mean to send you out. I made a mistake. Yeah, I can see why it would smell familiar.
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Louis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Louis first noticed the monotony of his daily life. He kept working at the cannery, but he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior. His mind began to...
And to what?
wander.
Oh, that's me.
I asked him to describe it. He said he started small. Imagining a labyrinth. He'd feel his way about. Then something moved. Bats. And toads. And things that have not names. He knew it was all in his head. But he took it very seriously. I had hoped he'd find himself.
So beautifully chopping his fish instead.
But he found something more. I worried about him then. daydreaming at the cannery. I spoke with his boss, but he said Lewis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused. Like a whole new Lewis. So I let him go on. I even encouraged him. It seemed very promising at first. He told me he'd made a new friend. On the edge of a city he named Lewis Topia. He built the city up slowly, brick by brick. Then he made musicians. And songs for them to play. He talked about starting a band. And he was always humming something. Every day his imagination grew stronger. He no longer spoke at the cannery. But his chopping was as reliable as ever. Then one day it struck him that all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination, so he could do whatever he wished. He held an election for mayor, and he won. They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering. It became a game for him. He'd conquer a city, then immediately push on. New Louisville. St. Louis. He started drifting away from our reality.
My fishing abilities are falling apart.
Minneapolis, until one day he forgot to go home from the cannery. Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Lewis kept sailing on. In Louisburg, he heard rumors of a handsome queen. The queen was on her own quest for sinister serpents. He followed the sound of her
Electric sitar.
silver harp. His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic remained sound.
Why can't he
He knew the world was all in his imagination. But he was so proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king. For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming. And then it struck him that the real Lewis was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace. My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him. Began to forget the world we know. I think it pained him to remember Lewis, the cannery worker.
So I was off. I thought it was going to be him chopping off his hand by accident or something. Just forgetting, not simply choosing his own.
He began to despise the man with a royal contempt. I still thought I could save him. Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. The palace would be packed with his companions. Including the wise Calico who'd insisted on inviting him. His queen waited, holding his crown. There was only one thing left to do.
He's gotta kill his own body, doesn't he? Oh, gosh. That's why the music's getting deafening.
Bend down his head.
Oh, jeepers. Oh, gosh.
I think you know.
Oh,
Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
Oh. So wrong, man.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him.
Just on the subject.
Lewis and I spent a lot of time playing games together, but he was surprisingly bad at them. He died a lot.
Not gonna make a joke. Be inappropriate at a time like this.
On the way back from Lewis's funeral, my mom told me to start packing. She waited until the day before we left to tell Edie. I'm not sure if she wanted to make it easier or harder.
The house that she's been living in since she was a little girl.
I wish we'd stayed. but I understand why we left. My mom ended up leaving everything behind. What happened that night had been coming for a long time. Maybe it should have come sooner. But it had to end one way or another. All that's left now is to tell you about that last night.
Edith's night. Last chapter of the story, man.
That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
"To our final night together, and all our final nights apart."
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
the power had been shut off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles. When my mom sealed the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance. Or that Edie had a key to it.
That thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house. Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories. I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight. We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning. Okay?
She's gonna be dead, isn't she?
Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out. It was the first and last time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years. God, it smelled awful. You know, I've seen that house every day of my life. But I never thought I'd go back to it. When the fog rolled in, I lost my way.
Stairs.
I got turned around. For a while, I wandered. I started seeing things.
The remnants of the stories.
Things I'd forgotten had ever existed. But when I saw them, they felt like old friends. That night, a lot of things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them. things I can't explain, but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
It's mine.
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it. Let go. I kicked and screamed, but Mom dragged me to the car. I never saw Great-Grandma Edie again. The next morning, the band came to pick her up, but she was already gone. After that, we moved around a lot. We both tried to make the best of it.
The activity for a car.
A few years went by. My mom didn't like to talk about it. But she started getting sick a lot. The rest happened pretty quickly. She got better for a while, and then she didn't. And then I was alone. The last Finch left alive. Until I found out about you. I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes. And appreciate how strange and brief all of this is. This journal was supposed to be for you.
Is this what I think it is?
But now I hope you'll never see it. I just want to meet you. And tell you all these stories myself. But I guess if you're reading this now...
This is what I think it is.
Things didn't work out that way.
This looks like a birth. This looks like a birth. I think that's a birth.
This is where your story begins. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask,
Oh,
but I don't want you
jeepers.
to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.
What? Okay. What? What kind of an ending was that? What? Alright. Okay. Apparently that's the end. I couldn't tell you. So we ended with the birth, and then the kid's actually like, I don't know, 10 years old, looks like? Maybe? Who knows? And first off, I'm not shocked because I hated the story. I loved the story. It's fantastic. Well done. Yippee-ki-yay. But what the hell was that ending? Okay. So we learned everybody died. Or disappeared. Or something. Somehow, something, some way. Whatever. But what? Is the curse broken? Is the kid gonna live happily ever after? How did Edith die? I have so many questions. Yeah. My gosh. Thanks, Johan. Okay. Also a good achievement, I guess. I don't know. What the heck, man? Jeepers. What a ride. Oh boy. Suppose I gotta talk about this thing, don't I? Alright. Story was beautiful. I loved it. Every second of it. I was enthralled by every single moment, every single second, every single piece was just amazing. So well done. The first one got me. I loved it from the moment the little girl was I can't even remember now. She transformed. She was cat, then she was owl, then she was shark who was rolling down the hill. Then she was the Kraken. So, gah. But from the very first second, amazing. Totally awesome. Totally cool. Loved the story. The music was gorgeous. I mean, there's a lot of times I criticize the music of games because it just doesn't fit, or it's the same typical, like for a horror game, the same typical horror soundtrack with the little ambiance in the background that's just supposed to make you feel edgy, but that was gorgeous. And the voice acting was amazing. I don't know how many people they had on it, but it sounded so good. But man, that was a beautiful... I mean, when you talk about games being a work of art, this is a work of art. This is something that deserves memories. This is something that deserves to be remembered by people because of how much it showed, how much it did. Good Lord. Love it, man. Of course, because what would it be without little change at the end? I've said everything I'm going to say. You guys can bring your own judgments, but that was an experience. Not one I'm going to forget anytime soon. Again, I'm sorry for not talking so much, not enough narration, not enough of me being me and saying a bunch of stupid things during the whole time, but I didn't want to take away from what a fantastic story that was. And boy, it lived up to what I hoped it was going to be. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, see you in the next video. Catch you on the flip side.